Welcome to the Real Life Momz podcast, where we put ourselves at the top of our to-do list. I'm Lisa Foster, your host, and today I'm here with former grocer and cookbook author Carol Ann Cates. And she is here to share her new book with us, The Grocery Shopping Secrets, and help us become more savvy in the grocery store. So, hi, welcome to the show.
It's great to be with you.
I'm excited about this topic, as we discussed a little bit before. Shopping just, it's a lot for me. I go into the store. I don't always have a plan, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I'm just grabbing what I can, but I always have a calculator because I have a budget of what I can spend. And so I'm like calculating, I'm stressed out. The supermarkets have so many things that I want and I know I don't need or shouldn't have. So I'm excited to hear about these secrets that you say you have. So, how did you become so savvy with grocery shopping and things like that?
My father was a grocer. I grew up in a corner market. Our first store was so small that carts could only go in one direction. But I learned how to select exceptional perishable products, much like other kids learn the alphabet. After my parents both passed away, I inherited co ownership of the business my father founded. And my family and I moved from Denver to Fort Collins, Colorado to help run them. When we moved up, we had two stores. When we closed, we had six supermarkets, a bakery production facility, and nine pharmacy locations.
Wow.
We opened a big new store, 63,000 square feet, which isn't big this day and age, but at that time it was big. 2 months after we opened it, the city closed the road in front of it. Our sales dropped from 390,000 a week to 190,000 a week. The road was closed for 6 months. The day the road opened, our supplier tried to take us over. They sent this lovely man that I called Jack the Ripper, and he said, "Give us $1 million or give us your keys today." We negotiated with them from 10 in the morning until midnight and were not able to make a deal. Every time we would accept their offer, they would call the CEO and it was rejected and made worse. So we regrouped and decided to fight. They bugged our phones, they bugged our office. We had goons at the front door, goons at the back door. They had someone sitting in my husband's office. It was pretty stressful. We ended up in federal court and the case was dismissed because they had RICO violations. But that lawsuit cost us $1 million. We had to sell one of our properties and lease it back in order to pay our legal bills. But it put us into a downward spiral. We eventually filed for Chapter 11 reorganization in February of 2001. We had our plan approved in August, and then 9/11 happened, and people changed their buying habits. And Super Walmart opened in our town, and our creditors forced us into bankruptcy. I have been working on this memoir, which I'm going to finish this year, which I call Busted But Not Broken, which is the story of our fight against our supplier. But I drove my husband crazy. I had one of my favorite responsibilities at the store was to do recipes for our ad. So if we had pork chops on sale, I would do a
Mm.
pork chop recipe. And my husband said, "You have all these wonderful recipes. Why don't you do a cookbook?" So I put my recipes together in a cookbook. My cookbook has 367 recipes. They are all family tested. They didn't get into the book unless my kids approved them, and they were customer approved. To set myself apart, I included grocery insider wisdom on how to select and store perishables. I am the only award-winning cookbook author that used to be a grocer. So as I've been working on, I wrote a historical fiction book. And as I've been working on my memoir, I knew I needed to do social media, which I hadn't done. And I started in 2001 with a young man named Bobby Crew. In 2022, food inflation was up almost 10% that year, and the supermarket industry attributes it to disruptions in the supply chain, COVID fears, the avian flu, and the Ukraine war. The Ukraine war, Ukraine was the breadbasket of Europe. And when Putin invaded Ukraine, wheat prices soared 34% per metric ton, which did affect inflation. So Bobby asked me to write a blog on how to save money at the grocery store because he was struggling then. And so I pulled all my shopping information out and spent a year expanding it. I included things like how to freeze milk, freeze eggs, so that people could really not waste their food and save money. So that's how I know about grocery shopping.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to sidetrack us before we get to all the savviness of grocery shopping and the secrets. Okay. Because you said freeze. And this is always a question. Okay. You can freeze milk. It's a little weird, right? You're not sure what you can freeze and not freeze. What is something that you can freeze that people don't know they can freeze and actually save it because it'll go bad?
I think milk for moms is a
Hmm.
perfect example because moms buy a lot of milk. And to freeze it, you put it in an ice cube tray, put it in the freezer, and then when it's solid, you transfer it to a freezer, either a freezer storage bag or a freezer container. We want to mark the date on it because we don't want to keep our frozen milk longer than a month. Uh,
Ah, okay. That's the
and
trick.
yeah,
Okay, yes.
but when you thaw it, you won't be able to use it on your cereal or in your coffee because it's going to become grainy and slushy. But you can use it in your smoothies or for cooking or baking.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because we have occasionally bought when you buy groceries and they get delivered, sometimes you get something extra, and occasionally we've gotten an extra milk or an extra something, right? And we're like, oh, we could just put it in the freezer. And then, but we put it in the carton in the freezer. So that's a no. You have to take it out and put it in the ice cube trays. And yes, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, you're looking at me like, okay, no, don't do that. All right. Yes, it's amazing what we've tried to freeze. And then when we unfreeze it, we realize that was not a good idea. All right, let's get back to our topic, which is really the secrets in the grocery store that we should know. So, what are the biggest secrets that you found being there?
as an independent, our ad was really important to us because we would put in our ad what we thought were really good prices that would draw customers in. So we were always competing against the chains. Now, where I live, I shop with Kroger. My son-in-law is a store manager for Kroger, and he tells me they compete with Walmart. So I think it's important to pay attention to the ads. For a busy mall where I live, the ads come out on Wednesday. So you can go online and see what's on sale and really plan your meals around what's on sale. So that's what I did with our ad is I planned recipes based on what was in the ad. So for example, last week we had a pork roast in the ad. So if that was in the ad, you could buy the pork roast, make it as a roast with veggies and potatoes, but then have it left over for maybe tacos or barbecued pork sandwiches. So I think that's important. I think it's important to plan your meals in advance. This is something I've done since I was married. I would always have a weekly menu on what I was going to make every night. And then I would make a list of what I needed for that recipe. One thing I do is if I'm not sure if I have an ingredient, then I make a question mark and go back and check. But I think it's really important to have a plan. For people who don't like to shop, you can order online, which one convenience is you can take things out of your cart if you've gone over your budget. I think one thing I really stress in my book is buying the freshest produce. So the only time I've ever ordered and had my groceries delivered, I was not happy with the produce that came home.
Yeah, I've had the similar experience where it wouldn't be something I picked with that. So that made me start to go to the store more. I have a question though, going to the ads, because yeah, that's great. I see the ads when they come out and I do look, oh, this is on sale. Great. But when you go to the supermarket, so I'm a King Supers shopper, which I think is your Kroger's, right? They're the same. I think they're the same, right?
I shop at King Supers,
Oh, is that
yes.
different? Okay. Yeah. And so when I get there, they also have these QR codes that are on the sale item, but they're not always the same as in the paper or a specific coupon, right? It's different. So you gotta, it's almost like you have to be aware of that because I had no idea. I had my King Supers card and I'm like checking out thinking, and everything will go on the card. But unless I scanned the actual QR code, I didn't actually get the discount. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Tell us about that. What are things that people are missing that they think they're getting the discount, but they're not getting the discount?
I think you have to pay attention to your receipt. So you need to be sure you're scanning that.
Yeah.
I think they have digital coupons on Friday.
Yeah.
And Supers also has 4 times fuel points if you shop on Friday.
Yep, they do. I
Place,
love 4 times fuel points. One of my favorite things ever.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and which if you don't scan the QR code, you don't just get the 4 times fuel points on Fridays, FYI. I felt like I had to scan that too. So, yeah,
yeah,
so what I'm going to say is check also for not even your receipt because by then you're just like, "Oh, I didn't get it." But to maybe as you're shopping making sure that you're getting the deals you think you're getting because I do think sometimes
yes.
that happens, right? Okay, what do you see as the biggest mistakes that people just waste money on when they're food shopping?
Believes we can save $1,500 to $2,000 a year by eliminating our waste. I have a couple of I have a couple of points on that. They believe we waste a lot of food because we don't understand the sell by date or the best if used by date. So if it has a sell by date or best if used by date, your supermarket is required by law to take it off the shelf on that day. But product will be good for sometimes a week past that date. So, for example, eggs are good 3 to 5 weeks past the sell by date. And how do we know if an egg has gone bad? We put it in a pan or bowl of water. So we know if we're going to hard boil eggs, they sink. But if they float, then they aren't any good.
Oh,
Also,
interesting.
if they stand on their side, they stand upright, then they're perfect for hard boiling.
That's good to know. Okay, so what you're saying is the grocery store have to take those things sell by a certain date off the market, but they're still good for about a week possibly or so. So are those then become on sale? Is that what you're saying?
No, they don't put them on sale. They have to remove them. And so
Oh, okay.
milk is going to be good 3 to 7 days past its sell by date. And if we want to know, you don't want to give your kids anything that's not good, but if you smell milk and it doesn't smell good, then you need to discard it. Ground beef is going to be good for 1 to 2 days past that date on that's marked on
Oh.
the package, and it will get slimy and turn gray. Now, our canned goods are going to be good for several years past their sell by date. If a can is bulging or if when you open it there's a black mold or it's discolored, then you should discard it.
Yeah.
Also, condiments are good past their sell by date. And with pickles, we know that when the liquid gets cloudy in the pickles jar, then it should be tossed. So
I
my
feel
book
like that's
is
always cloudy though. Isn't pickle juice always cloudy?
no, it'll get a little bit of a white tint to it when
Ooh,
it's not
okay.
anymore.
Gosh, yes. These are good tips to know because we have this conversation a lot in our house. We'll have something. I'm like, oh, the sell by date is past. And we're like, yeah, it's still good. But what you're saying is you got to really check. Really, really check.
Yeah.
It might not be. Yeah.
So another thing is I know moms buy things in bulk. And
Yes.
so my daughter feeds three teenage boys, and she buys a lot of Nature Valley sweet and salty granola bars. So I think it's important to pay attention to unit price. So I just have an example because Costco has a box for 48, which is 17.49 when I price checked it, which was 36 cents a bar. So Sam's has a box, a container that contains 36 bars, and they sell it for 11.28 or 31 cents a bar. So so buying the biggest package of something doesn't necessarily give you the cheapest price per item.
Do you think the bulk stores are a better deal though? If you were to buy those sweet and salty at a traditional store versus a Costco or a Sam's Club, do you think it's worth it? Because sometimes I'm in there and I'm like, wow, I spend so much money just because you buy three things and they're huge, and there goes my shopping for the week. So do you think it's worth buying those bigger bulk items? Is it compared to the regular stores?
On certain things. Now,
Hmm.
I do have an example where I priced Entenmann's Little Bites chocolate chip muffins, and Costco had a container that contained 20 pouches for 13.99 or 70 cents each. Sam's Club had a 20 pouch box for 12.26 or 61 cents each. But the day that I priced it, King's had a buy one, get one on it. And so their 5 count was 5.79. So if you bought 20 pouches, which would give you your buy one, get one, you would get those for 56 cents each. There are instances where King's or Kroger is going to be cheaper.
Yes,
Isn't
yes.
that interesting?
It is because you think you go into those bulk stores and you're like, everything is discounted and I'm going to have millions of them, which I don't always need. I don't need that many Entenmann's, no offense, muffins. That is not good in our house. So I think one box would have been fine. But I think you have this false sense that it is cheaper when sometimes you're right. If the regular grocery store has it on sale or buy one, get one or something like that, it's actually not. So. It's just that we
Yes.
don't have a lot of time to be assessing all these different stores. So for busy moms that are just trying to get their food shopping done, stay on a budget, eat somewhat healthy, what is what is the go-to rules to so you don't have to be pricing everything around? What's the easiest way to do this?
I believe that every day your supermarket will sell some food that can be classified as garbage. So, have you ever been shopping and seen a tomato or a pepper that has fungus on it and it's all shriveled up, and you wonder, does the produce clerk think I'm blind that I would buy this? And so my book really is full of tips on how to get the very best produce. I think there is a good produce, bad produce, and really ugly produce. So for example, the romaine that we have in the supermarket today mostly is bad. So when you have romaine that has a really big milky ribs and it's got a large bottom that has rust on it, and it's a lime green, and it gets more white towards the end, it's not as good a quality. So the romaine that's going to really taste good is going to be green, a nice green color all the way down to the center. I i don't know why produce isn't as good a quality as it used to be. There are grades of produce. And I don't know if they buy a lower grade in order to have cheaper prices. But for example, I do think Sprouts buys a lower grade produce.
Wow.
So if you buy produce at Sprouts and you don't use it right away, it's usually not good. The FDA believes we waste about a third of our food supply either at the manufacturer level, the supermarket level, the restaurant level, or by the home cook. And so my book really focuses around getting the freshest so you
Mm.
have less waste. Also, storing it properly. I store all of my vegetables, not all of my fruits, but all of my vegetables in either a plastic or a reusable bag. And they last longer when they're stored in another bag. Now, I know this because when my husband shops, he doesn't put things in another bag, and they get right away with even within a day or two, they'll start getting shriveled and wrinkly. So I think that's important. If you're a person that wants to use a reusable eco-friendly bag, then I think you should get one made of silicone or polyethylene vinyl acetate. And then it's important to have different sizes. So if you're storing lettuce, you're going to want a bag because you can't put it into a container, a Tupperware container.
Yeah. What about fruit? I feel like fruit does go quickly. If you don't eat it, it can turn really quickly. Is there any tricks to have your fruit like last longer so it can maybe make it to the end of the week?
I do keep my apples in a bag. I don't keep all of my fruits like my lemons and limes and oranges. I don't, but apples I do. I think it's important to buy apples that feel firm. You want them to feel real firm
Mhm.
and they shouldn't have bruises or punctures or indent easily when you gently press on them. Apples are going to be the quality of the apple will be equivalent to its color. So you
Hmm.
want to buy an apple that is really colorful for its variety.
And what do you think about organic versus non-organic? Because I feel like sometimes you see a most beautiful apple that's beautiful color, it's not organic. And then what do you think about that?
Have you heard of the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15?
No.
Every year, the Environmental Working Group analyzes the pesticides in food, and they have certain foods that they think are important to buy organically because they retain more pesticide residue.
Mm.
And those for this year are apples, strawberries, grapes, peaches, spinach, green beans, nectarines, sweet bell and hot peppers, blueberries, cherries, kale, and collard and mustard greens. Now they also have the Clean 15, and those are fruits and vegetables which don't retain a lot of pesticide residue. So they don't feel they're important to buy organically. And that would be corn, pineapples, which you take the skin off the
Yeah.
pineapple, onions, papayas, frozen sweet peas, asparagus, honeydew melons, kiwi, cabbage, mushrooms, mangoes, sweet potatoes, watermelon, and carrots.
Wow, I'm
So
surprised at some of those in the list because I heard what I've heard, which I do not work in the grocery industry, so I don't know. But that if the skin is thin, then the pesticides and things can come through. I can get the pineapple because that's a thick skin, so it would protect the fruit that you're eating. But that doesn't sound like necessarily true. Is that true?
according to the Environmental Working Group, yeah. And
Okay.
they every year they analyze foods.
Oh, okay.
And some years it will change. It did not change from last year to this year. They're
Oh,
exactly the same foods on the list.
okay.
But that's what I use as a guide for if I'm going to buy things organically.
Yeah, I think that's smart. Where do people find this list if they want to look it up on a yearly basis?
It's online. You can either Google the Dirty Dozen or Clean 15 or the Environmental Working Group.
Okay. Yeah, that seems good to know because knowing where to spend your money if you want to spend a little bit more in organics, you might as well do it with the fruits and veggies that need it versus the
Yeah.
ones that they don't feel. If the group doesn't feel it needs it, I'm assuming that's a pretty good people to listen to, right? They're
Yeah, yeah.
growing it. Yeah, that's great. So, do you recommend, how do you recommend a mom going to the shopping, going to a traditional store? I've heard to walk around the outside aisles because that's where all the healthy foods are, right? You got your fruits, your vegetables, your dairy, things like that, and very little time on the inside. So if you're trying to save money and eat healthy, do you have specific ways to go food shopping and maybe avoid some of the impulse buying? Ooh, that looks yummy, that you really don't need or want to spend money on.
If you have a list and you only buy what's on the list, you're going to do a lot better. You are going to need to go down the canned goods aisle probably if you need a can of tomatoes for cooking. I like to get my non-refrigerated items first because then the refrigerated items are out of the cart the
Mm,
most, or the refrigerated items are in the cart the least amount of time.
sure.
The most purchased items by anybody are milk, bread, and eggs. So those are on the outer part of the grocery store. So you have to walk through the grocery store so you can get those items.
Yeah, I would say those are always on our list. It's the milk, bread, and eggs, the big time for sure. Tell us a little bit about your book and where the listeners can find you.
My cookbook is available on Amazon or on my website. It's Secret Recipes from the Corner Market. Grocery Shopping Secrets is on Amazon and my website. It's also on Amazon as an ebook. So if you like ebooks, it's only $7.99 as an ebook. And you can download it and have it on your phone in case you have questions when you get to the store. It's also available through Ingram in any store that sells books, Grocery Shopping Secrets.
Nice, nice. And what's one thing you want the listeners to maybe start doing that's a secret from your book today?
Um, I think it's really important to get to know how to buy good produce.
Yeah.
Delicious meals begin with careful shopping, and the better quality of produce you're buying, the better your meals will taste. My dad taught me one thing he taught me was garbage in, garbage out. So if you're putting low quality ingredients into what you're preparing for your family, it's not going to be as tasty. So more poetically, I phrase it, great meals begin with careful shopping.
That's great. I love that. Yes. And yeah, it makes you think about when I do think when I go shopping, I go to the produce, and I don't think a lot of us actually know what's good and what's not, honestly, right? I pick a watermelon. Here's one you can tell me. I pick a watermelon. I'm always disappointed it's mushy inside or it doesn't or it's not sweet. And stop buying watermelon because I keep picking the wrong one, but it's just this hard. They look good on the outside. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
A watermelon should feel heavy for its side. It should have a yellow underbelly, so it may be a bit flat on its underbelly because it's been sitting on the ground and you want it to have a yellow underbelly. And when my father taught me to thump it like this with my finger, and if it sounds hollow, then it's right.
Ah, okay, that's good. And it's funny, I'll see a yellow and I'll be like, oh, that's not ready, as if it's not turned green or something. So, but that is actually a positive thing. So there you go.
Yeah,
This is why I keep picking the wrong one. Okay, one more. What about melons, like cantaloupe or honeydew?
cantaloupe. you want to press on the stem end and it should give a little.
Oh,
And if you smell the stem end and it smells like a cantaloupe, it will be ready. And
interesting.
all melons should feel heavy for their size. And I
Okay.
think that's really important with lemons and oranges and limes because have you ever bought a lemon or a lime and gotten it home and it's really dry? You want to press on it gently so it should give a little, but it should feel heavy for its size.
Okay, but it should be squishy. That's
Yes,
yeah. Okay.
it
Yes.
should be hard.
Shouldn't be hard. Lemon should be okay. What is all right, before we go, what is the one thing that people always make mistakes when picking? Oh, they like everyone gets this one wrong, but if you do this, you'll get a fresh blank. What is that? What's that fruit or vegetable that everyone is not knowing?
I think that I watch people shopping for tomatoes and they just grab one.
Yes, yes, we do grab them because they usually we get the cherry tomatoes in the little container. So we don't even know.
But the cherry tomatoes, you can look through the container and you don't want any cherry tomatoes that are wrinkled. So
Mm,
you can look all around. You don't want to refrigerate your tomatoes until they're ripe.
okay.
So we want to bring them home. If they're not ripe, we turn them stem side down to ripen them. We can put them in a paper bag with an apple, and that will help them ripen faster. Avocados, when they're put in a paper bag with an apple, will ripen faster.
Oh, nice.
You want to hold your tomato in your hand and just press gently on it so it should be soft. Color is a really good indicator of the quality of the tomato. So the more red it is, the better flavor it's going to have. And if you smell the stem end and it smells like a tomato, you'll know it's ripe. The other thing about tomatoes is it's important to buy them in a state of ripeness based on when you're going to use it. So if you're going to use your tomato today, you want a really ripe one. If you're not going to use it until the end of the week, then you want one that isn't as ripe so you can ripen it at home.
And if you're ripening that at home, you keep it out of the fridge until it's ready,
Yes,
and then you could put it in the fridge so it stays
yes,
longer. Mm,
yes.
interesting. Yep, all my tomatoes go right into the fridge. It doesn't matter phase or stage. This is so interesting. Yes, okay. Thank you, Carol, for sharing your knowledge. You think this is something we should just know, but we don't because not we don't all work in grocery stores and see this every day. And yeah, we're picking the wrong things, Carol. We're picking the wrong things. So thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want to learn more about Carol, just click on the link in the show notes. And until next week, keep carving out time for yourself and keep putting yourself on top of your to do list.